son, where'd you find this?
Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any of the narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico. They never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late. They cancel last minute. Forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range, shoot my shot with perfect aim, 3rd degree, that perfect flame, ain't no sleep, that's the game, oh so southern, that's the slang, when they see me, that's the main, chasing checks and fly like planes, big old stick, I bought a cane, flick my wrist and bought the ring, I'm so boss, we're not the same, paid the cost and kept the change, now I'm walking Hall of Fame, and I reside in the cloud, ran wishes, with these bitches, taking pictures with the crowd, and I'm out.
Yo, 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 yo. Good evening. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High.
Amen.
Happy Tuesday. I hope all is well with each and every single one of you. Thank you for being here this evening. Shout out to my poets, writers, content creators, all the above, all the in-betweens. If I missed anybody, my apologies, not my intentions. Miss Randy, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well. Just getting to the latter end of the day. How have you been? How was your day?
Eventful. Tunnel vision. That's the word for it.
Yes, I hear you.
I came across this story kind of abruptly, and I figured this would be the perfect time to have this conversation, and I couldn't think of anybody else that I would like to do this one specifically with than you, so I set it aside, and I'm glad to have you here for this discussion this evening.
I'm curious, why me? Why was this one set aside for me?
Well, because different perspective.
Okay.
Different perspective. This is what, day 2, and you did such a phenomenal job yesterday, and this is officially our first time actually doing this in this setting, where it's just us here. So I'm just curious to see how this goes, because I know there's a lot of different opinions and views on this particular matter here. So yeah, just my curiosity, just to hear your take on it.
Wow. Boy, oh boy. So I don't like to jump to conclusions or anything, but this sounds like a Dateline episode to me.
Oh, it definitely has those vibes to it. That's a fact.
I just wish I had a little bit more like information or backstory on what like their relationship was like. Like I'm the type of person where I am a self-proclaimed detective. I figure many things out in my life and in other scenarios that may be involved in my life, and just ooh, wonders, because this is just not enough information for me to really have a solid conclusion to be basing it off of, to be honest with you. My first thought is, well, what did he do to her? But then I also don't want to just assume that he did something to her. But I mean, it's a little sketchy, I'm not gonna lie. Like, especially after proposing and everything, and she was so happy and ecstatic, and it seems like they had a good relationship based on just that little snippet that I saw. So but you never know. You really never know. People put on a good front. So it's just very interesting because I feel like there's so much more to it that I would love to find out.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I'm going to give some.
What are your thoughts?
I'm going to give some extra context, but I want to play this clip.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Hold
Not
on.
this again.
I got a clip that I want to play for y'all. Just in case y'all not familiar with the backstory here. And then we're going to jump into the extra stuff, the meat and potatoes. I'm going to give my thoughts on it. Just bear with me for a second.
Sorry.
No problem. It happens.
Ugh.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to hold on. Let me see something. I'm going to bring up the clip that I have. Then I'm going to give a little extra context and then give my 2 cents on it. But I want to play this for the people who might not really be familiar with the story. Shout out to the young lady who gave us this breakdown on it, and we'll go from there.
So everybody has been talking about the tragic case of Ashlee Jenae. Now, let me start off by saying my heart goes out to the family, and I hope that you get some answers in Ashlee's case. But I wanted to try to put out a little bit more information on this whole story. So Ashlee Jenae, whose real name is Ashlee Robinson, is a 31-year-old model, actress, and lifestyle influencer. Now, Ashlee started modeling very young, but it morphed into a career. Ashlee has been seen on billboards. She's been on packaging for items that you may have purchased. Her face has also been on the window at beauty supply stores, and she has been featured in music videos for your favorite artists. So Ashlee has built a name for herself. She's worked hard her entire life. Now, sometime in 2024, Ashlee met a man by the name of Joe McCann. And the reason why we know they met in 2024 is because they celebrated their 1-year anniversary in November of 2025. Joe McCann is the owner of Asymmetrical Financial, which is a modern-day crypto fund. Now, Joe has been featured on dozens of videos about crypto funding and trading all across social media. Now, we don't know how Joe and Ashlee actually met, but within a year of dating, they would travel all around the world. Ashlee would feature Joe on her TikToks, and it seemed like the couple was having a good time with each other. Nothing will compare to the trip they would take in April of this year to Africa. Now, Ashlee's birthday was on April 5th, and she turned 31 on April 5th. Just 2 days before Ashlee's 31st birthday, on April 3rd, Joe would propose. Now, Ashlee took to social media. She was excited. She was happy. She described this entire trip to Africa as her dream trip, and she didn't want to wake up. But on April 5th, which would have been Ashlee's birthday, Joe says that he found her unresponsive in their villa. Now, Ashlee was rushed to a hospital where she was sadly pronounced deceased. Now, allegedly, from what Joe is saying, Ashlee might have done this to herself. This hasn't been confirmed, and her family does not believe this either. Ashlee's family put out a statement saying that Ashlee was full of life and she would have never taken her own life. Not only that, this was her dream trip. She was in Africa. She just got proposed to. It was also her birthday. Ashlee's family is calling her death suspicious, and they are calling for a full investigation. Now, since Ashlee's death, Joe has not spoken. Now, he hasn't said anything. And a lot of people think that Joe may know more about what actually took place in that villa. Now, Ashley's story is now blowing up on social media because everybody wants answers and they want justice for Ashlee. So as of right now, that is all the information that we have. Like I said before, Ashley's families and friends are saying that she would have never taken her own life. Now, you guys, please let me know your thoughts on this case. Justice for Ashlee.
All right. So let me give some extra context. People are saying that the husband or the spouse has something to do with it. I mean, initially, everybody goes to the person that is closest to you when it comes to these type of situations. Tragic. My condolences to the family. Again, all the fingers are being pointed directly towards them, even though they're saying that it was suicide. But then you have other side quest conversations that come into play. You have people who are saying she got what she deserved for dealing with someone outside of her background. You got people saying this is typical behavior from this type of a person. And my whole take on this is we really don't know what happened there. There's two different ways to look at this. And I'm going to start off by saying this. No matter what our opinions are, only God, him, and her know truly what happened here.
That's very true.
I don't like that people automatically assume that they have the answers as if they were woven into their entire journey from start to finish. Like you were there when everything went down. We just automatically assume that he is guilty, but we don't think for a second that there's a possibility that she might have been depressed. Now, I'm not saying one is wrong or right. What I'm saying is take everything into consideration. So
I mean, I agree.
That's those.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say those are my initial thoughts because there's more that I want to say, but I want to give you the floor.
Well, I wrote down a couple of notes because that's just the kind of person that I am. So I agree with what you're saying, which is why I initially had said, like, it sounds like a Dateline thing, and it sounds like it could be him, but also, like, you don't know, and you don't want to assume because that's just, what assuming does. It doesn't usually make you look that good. And honestly, nobody knows the intricacies of people's relationships behind closed doors. My notes were, what did he have to gain if he did? My initial thing, because they're not married, they had just gotten engaged. So there would have to be an understanding of what a motive would even be behind that if we were to pinpoint him as the actual, person. And then how long were they actually together? I know they were celebrating their 1 year, I think is what it said, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But were they only together for 1 year? Because 1 year of being together with someone, you don't always know someone. Even like 3 or 4 years or even 10 years into life, you don't always know somebody, like their true essence of who they are. They could have many secrets or many layers or many things that you're just not really quite in tune with in terms of them, because they've given you a version of themselves that you perhaps accepted or overlooked certain things. So that's an interesting one. And then how did they actually meet? Because sometimes circumstances like that do have a factor in how the trajectory of a relationship ends up going, and perhaps other feelings that can arise over time with jealousy or controlling or, you know, and I'm not saying that he was those things. I'm just simply saying that's an example of characteristics or, you know, relationship flaws and dynamics that would be unbeknownst to us, considering we don't know them. We don't know, you know, the details or of their relationship or what goes on behind closed doors. And then how did she actually go? Because that also would have a little bit more framing for looking at it from a detective stance, in the possibility of it even really truly being a suicide. And once again, as said before, I am so deeply sorry for their family. I can't imagine. I really hope that you get to the bottom of it, because I can't imagine having to live through this and just have the unknown and the questions not answered. That's just horrible. And I'm sorry for that. And I'll be praying for your family. And I hope that you get the answers that you need and you deserve. And with that being said, there just needs to be a bit more information for me, like I said, because there just could be so much in regards to just that. But to touch down on what you said, with the commentary, truthfully, everyone has their opinions and they're entitled to it, but I don't think that we should be assuming anything, one. And two, why would she possibly deserve this? Why would anybody deserve this? That's just that's not what anybody should even say, in my opinion. That's, no one deserves this. No one's family deserves this. And in regards to, what was the other thing that you said? Because I don't want to misspeak. Was it about their relationship, like on an interracial level?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, people are people regardless. You can't, I'm someone who tries to remove that as an entity, because I truly try to view people and their hearts and their actions as just that. Because you can come across some really wonderful people in all different races, and then you can come across some not so great people, and that's just life. And that's just how I try to view human to human. So I don't know that that necessarily has a factor for me, in my opinion, but you know, if that does for others, who am I to say what they should think or feel, or, you know, their opinion on the matter. But for me, things happen every day, despite the color of anyone's skin. So in all reality, that just for me personally isn't a part of the equation in terms of my opinion or questions on the matter.
So this is what I want to say. First and foremost, given the small bit of information that I did on her, she had some strong opinions about Black men dating outside of their race.
Oh.
They weren't very popular. And I think a lot of people are more focused on the fact that she was speaking negatively against Black men for whatever reason she had, versus actually focusing on the fact that she was still a human being. And whether or not you agreed with her opinions or not shouldn't be a factor into why we are having this conversation in the first place. I want to go on record to say it wouldn't have mattered if she was dating a Hispanic or someone from Iran. Love doesn't determine your skin complexion. In fact, just because you are in a different demographic does not necessarily mean that it's more likely that you're going to be protected by this person or that person. Everybody can potentially be crazy and psychotic in any spectrum. I don't know why people continuously try to create this divide when that's unnecessary. So there's like so many different little twists and turns with this because people are saying, well, maybe she would still be alive if she was dealing with a black person. Or maybe her greed and her wanting to be with a rich white man got her caught up in why she's no longer here. And we got to call it for what it is. Some folks are saying you're being lustful, you're being greedy. You're only here because of the benefits that you see in this other person. You don't really love that man. You think he's safer. You really feel like black men are your enemy. That's why you left them. They went over here, and this is what you get. And I hate those type of conversations because a lot of us are not just being honest. You're either a good person or a bad person, man or woman. It doesn't really matter what color you are. As far as how the dynamic was in their household, nobody here knows. None of us. We're going off of theories, clips, and we're going to continue to commentate as things unfold. Because what it's looking like is, oh, we got a wealthy white man who is probably just one of them folks that's sick in the head and they privileged and they get away with stuff because they got power and they got money. But again, don't really know. Could it be true? Maybe. But who's to say she wasn't going through things? Y'all swear up and down, you know your loved ones. They the happy ones. They the ones that you always laugh with. They get you to the party. They're the life of the party. They turn up. They're the cool uncle, cool auntie, the cool cousin. Gimme, 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 gimme. Hand out, hand out, hand out. But do you check on them? Do you pour into them people? Do you know that there's sadness behind the smile? Or are you just lazy and so comfortable with them being who they are out externally that you ignore that there might be a chance that there's something deeper here that you're not checking for? So that's pretty much where I'm at. I think a lot.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that you and I, from previous conversations that we've had, you have an understanding of where I stand. I'm not someone who, I try not to amplify the race continuation, only because I truly see people for people. And like you said, you either are good or you're bad, or you do good things or you do evil things. And that goes for any race. And in all reality, yes, as history would have it, there are there's a good bit of white men who do crazy things. I can't lie about that. However, the statistics actually prove that 1 out of 5 people are mentally ill and undiagnosed. So you truly, that's not just white people. That's not just white men. That's across the board from what I've read. Because, I have someone very close to me who is mentally ill, and it was a later onset in their life. So we truly don't know if there's something to that as well, because if 1 out of 5 people, they're 2. So you do the math there. That's a pretty good odd right there, just alone in itself. And then, like you said, you don't know what she's going through. You don't know the pressures of climbing her way up to this fame and fortune and recognition and place that she's gotten to in her life and what that's done to her. She may put on a good face and a happy face, but we also don't know what she was going through because I mean, I can also say I'm a person who's done it myself in life. You don't want to always show people your cards. It's not something that you want to lead with. You want to kind of pretend that everything's fine and good, even when perhaps it's not. So you truly never know what somebody's going through. And with that being said, who knows what their relationship was like behind closed doors in terms of like, could there have been, I don't know, could there have been even more tensious things going on where like he found out that maybe she was doing something she shouldn't have done, or like, you know, there's just so many factors that could be considered here that I think that it's not our place to be able to draw conclusions. One, because it's not our relationship, and two, there's just too much unknown here. And for us to really dissect it, because there's so many things that we can dissect. Obviously, we've just jumped around from so many different structures of like destructuring it, to be honest with you. There's just so many layers. And I'm the type of person where I try to think about things in all those layers and break those down and try to make it make sense. And it's all about information. And unfortunately, we live in a day and age where a lot of people are drawn to the information that they hear from other people on the internet and social media versus perhaps the facts or the real information that's out there. And that also, I think, has a way of biting us in the tush. Not really being the best thing, but you know, we can only control what we choose to investigate ourselves or read up on or educate ourselves on. It's just, I don't want to assume just because he's a white man that that's what it was, but I also don't want to assume that she was like climbing up a ladder just to be with him for his money. Like, there's just too many things that I don't personally know enough about the situation to say anything other than what I feel is this could happen to anybody at any point in time in life, as history has shown through all the different documentaries and datelines that have been out there. Like, it happens. It's real life. And it isn't like exclusive to one race or another. So just gets the wheels turning, I guess.
You know what's interesting about this story?
Please tell me.
There's so many things that you can look at, right? A lot of what her content was focused on was, it was entertaining, but it was also negative in so many different aspects. I'm not going to say all of it was, but certain topics that she touched on, they villainized a certain group of people as a collective versus individually isolating the root of the problem and addressing it like that. When you are dating, when you are when you're an influencer, when you're doing anything in this world, you reap and you sow.
It's very true.
Now, depending on how locked you are with yourself, the people that come in and out of your life will always be a reflection of who you are on the inside to some degree. That's something that I've just categorized as I was getting older and older. It wouldn't have mattered if he was wealthy, if she was an influencer or not. On some degree, when we deal with certain people and we cross certain jurisdictions, if you follow the timeline and the paper trail, I almost guarantee you will always find a rhyme and reason for how things led up to the destination. If
100%.
we can't prove nothing else or give any solid concrete answers to why this happened, you just know that there was a cause and effect, no matter what color it was at all. It's just unfortunate because it was maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I watched a YouTube video. It was like 30 minutes or so, and this man had been married to his wife for a few years, and he had actually killed her, but he was so good at lying to the officers. He had it set up to where they were looking at somebody 10 states over as the suspect. His wife hadn't seen that man in over 20 years or so. They were chasing a ghost the whole time. He had her chopped up in a storage container in the garage. He was playing along with the officers, acting like he was helping them and everything, and they come to find out that it was actually his obsession and controlling that ended up doing what. Long story short, when you watch stuff like this on TV and you just see how the mind of some people work, it's hard for you to not look at somebody and say, "Oh, it could be you." I don't even look at humans the same no more.
Listen, let me tell you that is true, because even if you know anything about schizophrenia isn't something that you inherit. It's not a genetic thing. It's something that can be onset later on in your life. If you actually study it and you actually learn what schizophrenia ends up being for a person, it's almost like a wire that trips in your brain. And I do believe that there are a lot of instances where the pressures of life, or the fatal attraction, or the trauma, or the buildup of, also paired with perhaps drugs, alcohol, or even not, that it does something to a person that becomes unrecognizable. And how do I know that? Because I've lived it with someone extremely close to me. And it was a very, very difficult thing to even comprehend or understand. So I really did a lot of studying on it to try to understand it better, because I thought maybe it would help me in the long run, given how close this person was to me. So really, there are many things to consider here, because you're right. You're onto something when you say that. And I would like to say, I did not know enough about her as a person or her content to know that she spoke derogatory or perhaps negatively about the men of her race. So I would like to go on record and say that I didn't know enough information. So I was not aware of that, and definitely not something that I co-sign on by any means.
Yeah, it's like this weird poetic justice thing people got with, oh, you dated a black person, and this is what you get for dating a black person. Oh, you dated a white person, this is what you get for dating a white person. I get tired of hearing that. I mean, not too long ago, a black man married a white woman. She killed him. The comment section is, "That's what you get for dating white women. Ha 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 ha. Joke's on you." then now you have another situation where now the roles are reversed and people are still doing the same thing. And I'm like, what? Come on, man. How old are y'all?
I just
Really?
think we're perpetuating a narrative that really, at this point, we have to be the change in this world. And I am not going to negate the history that exists there and how deep that is and painful that is and traumatic it's been for decades and decades and like, I can't. But what I can do as a woman, a white woman who lives in this world that we live in 2026, is I can love my neighbor the way that, Christ would love me. And I can do that without having to even necessarily look at them and have that be a factor for me. I live in a predominantly Black neighborhood, and that means absolutely nothing to me because I see people. And I don't want to say I don't see color, because that's an ignorant statement it's an ignorant statement. But in the essence of my heart, I don't see that because I truly see people. And I want to be clear about that. And I feel a duty as a white woman in 2026 to say, you know what? Like, we have to break this generational curse. We have to be the ones to stop perpetuating this narrative, because all it's doing is keeping us divided as a nation, as a people, as humans. And like, I want to live in a world where like we love each other more and support each other more and not focus on our differences, but instead focus on the things that we could relate to in one another and that would draw us closer as human beings. Because I think we're all just living our life trying to do our best out here, and nobody knows what each person has gone through or is going through. And yes, I can't speak to the past and history because I did not live that. But what I can do is speak to what I'm trying to live and demonstrate now, which is, let's divert the diversion and let's try to see people for people. That's just my feeling. And I know not everybody will love that, but
not the unpopular thing to do is to turn the other cheek and to find a more mature way to eliminate this ignorant ideology that's been passed around forever, because it's easier to be angry and to adopt someone else's life and experiences when you never had to experience it yourself. I don't hold grudges. I don't believe in holding grudges. I don't even believe in returning the same type of energy that someone else did. I think it's counterproductive. How do you really show somebody that you are practicing what you believe in? How do you convince somebody that your faith is what it is when you are still of the world? Like, it's hypocritical. And why would I want to listen to you or follow you? Anybody that I'm friends with or I connect with is going to be based off of me being myself, you being yourself, and there's no judgment, there's no barriers, there's no shame.
I think that has a lot to do with the Holy Spirit that lives within you, to be honest. And I think that you have the ability to tap into that, and you're drawn to other people who share that likeness with you. And we've discussed this briefly when we first met, and that's what made this kind of be what it was. And one would say, oh, like, that's weird, she's a white girl, you're a black man, like, look at, like, why would he want her on his podcast?
Real quick, hold your thought. I just want to answer this question real quick. Thunder, guilty or not, did the fiance of Ashlee Jenae kill her, or did she suicide? That's what this is about. You got it. My apologies.
I lost my train of thought.
I tried to make it quick.
No, that happens sometimes. But all that to say, I think that you're very in tune with yourself, though, and you're also in tune with your relationship with God. So I think that's what sets you apart, very much so, and why I felt connected to you, because at the end of the day, we're connected to people that I feel our souls and our spiritual place that perhaps we're in our life often gravitate to if we have the ability and the willingness to allow it to.
Diversity is beautiful. Being free is even more beautiful. I'm not talking about just, oh, you're out in the street, you're not behind bars. I'm talking about spiritual freedom, mental freedom. You're not confined to the thoughts and opinions of the entire social media space where everybody can dictate and control how you eat, how you feel, how you sleep, how you wake up, what you post, what you think, what you talk about, what you wear. I'm talking about that type of freedom. When you can be true to yourself and you can love without any drama, you can just hang out with whoever you want and date whoever you want without worrying about somebody clowning you and they 30, 40 years old. And I don't want that. I don't want to be shackled down like that.
Well, and to that note, perhaps she couldn't be free. Perhaps she wasn't free. Perhaps the pressures of all these people commenting on her choice of being with a white man, or her choice of, even speaking derogatory about men of color and her race, maybe the commentary and the opinions also was something that weighed heavily on her mental state. We just don't know. So that comes full circle with what you just said, coming back to her in this situation. There's too many factors to consider here.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with you, Thunder. It shouldn't matter who you're friends with. I don't care if they're in shape, out of shape, got one leg, one arm, one eye. Like, why does it really matter as long as they got a good heart and a good spirit? What we should be more concerned about is the folks that spreading wickedness, the ones that have demonic agendas, the ones that are disruptive and cause nothing but anarchy. Those are the people we should be praying for and we should be holding accountable. I don't know if she was there because of his financial status. I don't know if he was there because he had a sick fetish. We just don't know. That's why I said at the beginning, it really don't matter what speculation is. God knows.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
We have to address the, and you brought it up just a second ago, the pressure. Like, me personally, I wouldn't give a shit about how anybody felt if I was dealing with anybody outside my culture at all. Like, that shit wouldn't matter to me. But that does bother a lot of people. People get really triggered by it.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, I've witnessed it myself, being a white woman, and I'd like to preface with this. I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm not looking for anybody to be like, "Oh, I'm supposed to feel bad for you." No, but I've experienced the pressure being a white woman, just walking into a situation where I am the only white person. I've been made to feel not so great, like an outcast, or like I have leprosy, or like I'm the evil, person from back in the day. But like I'm Randy. I'm not my ancestors. I'm not, and I shouldn't have to pay for their sins, to be quite honest with you, because what I try to demonstrate is nothing like that. So I get what you're saying. There is pressure in all different directions, but I'm someone who I try not to allow that pressure to change my heart and what I feel God has conditioned me to feel and think and treat others as. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. But you know what? I know that I stay true to, for sure.
Here's a message. Just because a person has money does not mean that it's going to equate to the type of peace and happiness and love that you expect.
Absolutely not. You see it every day. I just met a very wealthy man the other day, and he is newly sober, and he's like, I just don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I have a good bit of money. I'm successful. I have a great family. I have a great life. I had normal parents. I didn't have like super traumatic things happen to me throughout my life. And I still like found myself kind of coping with my life, or out of boredom or whatever it may be, drinking. And so, like, you just never know. You never know. People are not as free as you think, with or without money. And all the money in the world, as we can see in life, there's plenty of celebrities and stuff that have ended up themselves, and they had it better than, a lot of people. So money definitely isn't the answer. And I think that we just need to start looking at things from an actual perspective of gratitude and like reality, because I think that the world, it's really not done such great things for the way that we should actually look at life.
Say this for a fool. Say this for a fool. People out here chasing wealth, chasing the 6'5" pro athlete, the musician, the rappers. None of these people are happy. Most of them are miserable. I just finished doing a reaction video to Lotto. Lotto got knocked up by 21 Savage. 21 Savage married. Got a whole family already. But she bragging on music about not being promiscuous and not sleeping around, and she's gonna wait for the right guy. But you chose somebody who was already under the covenant. And there's plenty of people out here that move like that. Plenty of them. And
listen, I get it. But I think that also stems back to our conversation from yesterday of being in tune with yourself, and being in tune with being peaceful with yourself and within yourself, and your relationship with God or your higher power. For me, it's God, but I can't speak to anyone else's choice on that matter. But for me, like, it has a lot to do with you and within. And when you're not right within, it's very difficult to live a life that feels aligned with things that feel right, without wanting to succumb to the pressures of life and money and all fame and all these things. So ultimately it starts with us.
Yeah. And to Thunder's point, this world is a materialistic place. That's why most people aren't happy, and they bitter, or they're trying to catch up and compete with somebody else. You can't compete. Because what's for you is for you.
Right.
Name me one time in history where coveting after somebody else's stuff ever worked out for anybody in history. It don't.
No, and unfortunately that's the society that we live in, which is really unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. And I tried so hard to like break that illusion for my child, who's 14 years old, who's stepping into a very different place in his life. He's going to be in high school, and you know how that goes, like pressures and money and girls and things. And it's like, it really starts with you. You have to be right with you. And I wasn't right with me for so many years of my life that I allowed other people and places and things to sway what I knew perhaps was right for me, or living the way that I was meant to live, because you just got to get right from within. That's just my personal feeling. And until you do, it's very difficult to not succumb to the things of the world, because it's just all around you. It's just all around you, and it's so influential.
You know what's dangerous? we are so self-righteous as a people. We're know-it-alls. We're know-it-alls that act like we're humble. What do I mean by that? We say we humble and we got all this humility until it's time to put it into practice. You say you know God and we follow a certain faith, but our realities always look different. 90-something%, I don't even have an accurate number, but I must say a good 90% of what we are in is due to our ego thinking that we know everything. We got all this figured out. Because there's no way in the world you're going to tell me as a grown woman that you would rather be a part of a concubine or be a athlete and deal with a woman who has just such a deplorable history versus being a solid man or a woman who goes after someone who has structure, that has their head on straight. They're not secular. Something has to be off with you.
Listen, I'm no saint. I have a past just like everybody else does, but I also am a person who always battled the Jesus girl in me, and you know, sometimes the scales were tipped on either place, but I think the essence of who I was always trying to demonstrate what I feel is a true essence of God, which is love. And sometimes it wasn't always demonstrated properly. I'm a sinner just like everybody else. But I will say that people who know me, they know me inside. They know who I am despite, you know, the things that I've done or the sins that I have in my life, or had in my life rather, because I've had quite a radical change in my life, especially in the last 4 months, just due to my own journey. And, you know, I wasn't so humble at one point, and I wasn't so gracious and kind at one point, but, I recognize that about myself at this point, being 35 years old, and I'm striving to actually embody that today. And that's all I can do. And as long as you're self-aware and you can take accountability, your past shouldn't necessarily define you, but are you actually taking accountability? Are you actually being humble? Are you actually making the changes? So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm some angel, because I'm certainly not. You know, I am a human just like everybody else, but I know that I want to be better every day, and I want to demonstrate that.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I struggle every day. Some days be harder than others. Sometimes I backslide and everything. It is what it is. It's about being transparent. I would rather
100%.
I would rather be honest with myself than to lie to myself and then other people would then look foolish for it. And to Thunder's point, I'm here. That's all I got. Because, like, here's the reality. The justice system is so tainted. Who's to say we'll ever really know the truth about some stuff? There's cases out here today that have never been solved, but we still in the back of our mind, we like, nah, they guilty. They did that, or they were innocent. But nobody ever came to light and brought that stuff to a close. This might be one of them situations. All these men that got hung, and they said all of those was suicides. Nobody believes that. But will they ever get justice? There's stuff on this planet that will never get justice on this planet.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest with that. It won't be until we meet our maker that we'll get judged for everything that we've done here. That's why I don't even lose sleep over this stuff. It's sad, it's unfortunate, and I hate that it happens, but it's a harsh reality.
It really is a harsh reality. And I personally try to, not that I want to, like, ignorance is bliss type deal, but like I do try to steer clear of filling my mind and spirit with certain things that perhaps just aren't exactly good for me to harp on, just because I do believe it does create a certain type of spiritual turmoil for me personally. But obviously there are also other things that I'm very tapped into and I see, and it's just, life is just so crazy. It really is. And this topic is just a exact like point and case to how crazy life is, because there's just so many layers to dissect, and then brings you off on other like other tangents to think about too. So it's a lot.
My final thoughts on this whole thing. Remove race, remove color. Get to a place in your life where you realize that you don't know everything. I know we all like to think that we're pretty exceptional at this walk, but guess what? There's a lot of people who have preceded us way before we ever walked this planet, and I guarantee you, if they could have a conversation with us right now, it will blow our minds.
I agree.
Y'all want relationships, you want friendships, you want partners, and you want all of this fantastic stuff. Now is probably the time to start doing things in a decent order. Stop being sloppy. Stop being prideful. Stop thinking.
Starts with us.
Exactly. All of it starts with us. You get what you put out there. Even if you don't even think you put anything out there, you're putting stuff out there. Because just because you do all this, it's this right here that's going to be the reflector. This is your mirror. Your heart is your mirror, not this, your heart. So I don't care what you say out your mouth. Your actions, oh yeah, it's going to
speak louder than words.
Your biggest testifier. So
I agree.
Love who you want to love. Choose who you want to choose, but make sure the person that is ahead of you first is the one that you have the best relationship with it. And if you are atheist, that's your preference. I'm not here to convert nobody or convince nobody of nothing. We just want to be more responsible with how we live our life. Because ultimately, I don't think anybody wants to be in a relationship with somebody where it's one-sided, or you're being manipulated, or you're being used for your status, or whatever the case may be. Nobody wants to be played. And also, stop acting as if your family is all happy.
Bang, bang.
You do not know if your everybody in your life is completely happy. You don't know that. I've been depressed. I've been suicidal. But you wouldn't have known it.
Right.
Stop acting like everything is peachy. Like, check on your people. Even if they seem like they happy, check on them. Ask them how they doing. Take them out. Do something for them. Stop asking them for everything. Stop depleting them all the time. Reach out to them. That's all.
I agree. I think that's a great note to wrap it up with. I think you hit the nail on the head.
I appreciate you for being here this evening. This was a pretty good one. Pretty good one. I'm glad we got to do this, man. And
I am so pleased. And, this is just another testimony of us being the change in this world and living it and not just speaking it. And, I'm just so glad and grateful that I met you and to be able to do this with you and call you my friend and now someone I get to do this podcast with. So thank you.
likewise. Shout out to Thunder. Shout out to Level. Shout out to
I don't
everybody.
know you, Thunder, but hey, yeah.
Shout out to the people that's watching wherever you're watching from.
Yes.
We needed to have this conversation. We really did. And I'm glad the right eyes and ears were here for it. Spread this message. Let the people know, man, like, we can do better. We just got to want to do better.
Just lead with love. Let's just lead with more love.
Please. Well, look, we about to get up out of here, folks. We got a show tomorrow morning. Make sure y'all tap in. That's gonna be a goodie, especially if you're curious about all those bots and them trolls and all that. You're gonna want to stay tuned for this one. We working. I'm always in the laboratory, so do me a solid before y'all go. It's gonna be at 11 a.m. if you can make it. 11 a.m. I got somebody joining. Well, these are two. I got two new people pulling up. So yeah, we getting there. Do me a solid before y'all go.
What's the goddamn button?
Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. Drive safe. If I don't get to see you tomorrow morning, tap in with us tomorrow evenings. That's Sydney's show. We keeping the ball rolling all week, all year, nonstop. We always got something going on. Be easy. Lock in. See you soon.
The flow insane, take my spot, so the range. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. 3rd degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the